If you're looking to fish shallow water, offshore, or the points of a lake, knowing where to find the bite is the beginning to a great weekend. So get ready, our experts are standing by here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We hope y'all had an awesome holiday weekend and week celebrating our freedom and America. I know we did, right, Rick?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And what about your birthday?
Oh, my birthday, 27 now.
Oh,
super excited.
Snap.
I'm
Old
feeling
lady.
it. I'm feeling it.
Old lady.
Oh, gosh.
I noticed.
Oldie moldy.
Skin's getting wrinkled.
Well, here on Tipper, we're continuing to celebrate fishing. I'm going to ignore that comment. And Dave Farrell at the CCA Workbench is going to help us do that. What you got over there, Dave?
Well, I got all my fingers. That's what I'm happy about because I like to blow stuff up on the 4th of July, and I kept all my hands and fingers.
Proud of you.
Very happy. We're talking about swordfish.
Fun.
Offshore, catching those great big swordfish.
All right, well, can't wait for that. We're starting in the Upper Fresh region tonight with Rick Carter, checking out Lake Athens, Louisville, and Fork. So let's hear it, Rick.
Hey, I hope everybody had a safe holiday on the water. We're going to go over to Lake Athens. That's where the Texas Freshwater Hatchery is, where they take all the big lunkers. This little lake is on fire this summer. The bass are schooling around the big island on the main lake and also the dam area early in the morning. They're hitting topwaters like skitterwalks, spooks, yellow magics. Those are good choices. Some mornings when they're picky, the weightless flukes and solid white are the great choice on that. Mid-running crankbaits later in the day around that dam area. By noon, go to the grass beds. Lake Athens has tons of grass, and get along the grass with wacky worms and a 6-inch tap-out Bass Assassin Chartreuse pumpkin. It's kind of a color that you don't hear of, but it's really good. Moving on to Lake Louisville, north of Dallas, white bass are all over the humps, ledges, and wind-blown points. The guides up there are really having a good time. If you live in the Dallas area, get up to Lake Louisville and get on the lake and fill up the cooler. Cordell spoons and slabs in the nickel color, a 3-inch dye dipper in solid white on a 1/4-ounce head. We'll catch them after they go down. That's on Lake Louisville. Back to Lake Fork. This week the fish have been hitting shaky heads in 6 to 10 foot ditches. Grape, red flake, and Junebug color are the best colors this week. 15 to 17 pound line been the best size for the shaky head, a little lighter line. Also, we caught some this week on swim jigs, green pumpkin color around the shallow grass. Swim jig was good also this week on Fork.
So tell us a little bit about this picture there, Rick.
Hey, that's the young man, Ben Wright, from Huntsville, Texas. Him and his dad, they come up quite often, and Ben's turning out to be a pretty good little summertime fisherman.
So what did he catch that fish on, Rick?
He caught that on a football head. We had fished all morning, and we moved out to about 20 foot, and he threw it out in a deep tree, about a 1/2-ounce football head PBJ with a twin tail trailer, and he whacked that old big one out there.
Boy, I'd say he did whack it. Now, did that fish jump much?
That fish jumped about 4 times, and his dad was having a heart attack on me. Every time it jumped, you know, they look giant when they're jumping out there, so
right.
We thought it was a 12-pounder, but it was a nice fish, and yeah, he's going to be a great little angler.
I'm glad that he's being mentored by you, my friend. Okay, tell me about the brim fishing on Lake Fork.
The brim have came back this year. They're big, giant ones. They're all around all the docks, the boathouses, the marina areas. You just get your cricket boxes, light tackle like your little crappie rods, and bring your cooler out if you like to eat them, and just fill up the cooler. There's some Louisiana girls there. They were filling up a cooler while their husbands were out bass fishing. They were catching those brim.
Oh, you got a picture here, huh?
Yes, we had a photo bank of the girls catching some big old brim.
Man, those are some brim. Now, You know, let me ask you, when they get to be that big, do they call them breast brim in Texas?
Yes, sir.
A lot of people don't know what that means, but a breast brim, if they put the camera on me, I'll show you. The brim is so big that you can't get your hand around it. So what ends up happening is they put it against your breast so that you can take the hook out, Bree.
Oh.
That's right.
Okay.
Isn't that right?
Cool.
See, I got that.
Learn something
Correct.
new every day. Thanks, Rick.
I can't wait to see Bree do that. Let's go ahead and
Oh,
take a
okay.
chance to look at the hot spots from the... Oh, you got crappies, Rick?
No, that was it. That's all I had this week.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. Bass, Lake Athens is on fire with schoolers up to 5 pounds. Big Island on the main lake is a great spot to use water, top waters and traps, and then Brim and Lake Fork is on fire this summer. Crickets on a light line will do. What do you think about that breast brim?
I can't with you, Rick. Okay, the Lower Coast region is up next with some killer inshore and offshore bite news, and Captain Chad Kinney is on the line to tell you all about it. Hey, Chad.
Hey, everything's going great down here. I've got great reports from everywhere. We're going to go ahead and give you one from Port Aransas up here. There's been plenty of redfish in Aransas Bay on some shad. Trout fishing's also been good in Corpus Christi Bay on some croakers. And also in the Corpus Christi Bay, they've been catching quite a few drum. If anybody's wanting to target some black drum using some shrimp. And then flounder just recently started showing up along the lower coast here. Matter of fact, I caught a few this week myself, so there's got to be a lot of them if I got one. So moving into the redfish, there's plenty of redfish along Aransas Bay up there. I talked to Captain Steven. He's with Steven's Guide Service, also known as Red Flare. This guy's been up there a long time, and talked to him just a few days ago, and he's been hammering the redfish on the shad up there. So best thing to do is use like a Carolina rig, and in other words, use like a 3/4 ounce slip sinker. Use it on your main line. Tie a ball bearing swivel on there that the sinker won't slide over, and then use about an 18-inch leader with about a 40-pound shock leader. Work great. And then whatever hook, if you're using a live bait or using dead bait on the shad, and then go ahead and use that and cast it out towards the bottom. And the redfish has been really good up there. Also in the Corpus Christi Bay there, the trout have also been really good on live croaker. And like I said, on the drum, he's been catching quite a few drum. Also, if you're targeting that, use some live shrimp or dead shrimp. On the dead shrimp, you can still use that same Carolina rig and take the head off that shrimp and peel some of that layer back on the scales, and then you can cast that out there and get a better scent in the water. You'll have a lot better luck on that. So moving over into the flounder, they've been moving up and down. Talked to some buddies up and down the coast, and I've been fishing the bay and offshore this week. But they're starting to move into some of the potholes and some of the guts, definitely some of the drop-offs. So use about a 1/4 ounce or a heavier jig head with a scented plastic, such as like a gulp or a Z-Man. Those work pretty well right there. And if live bait's available, if you got mud minnows work really good, or finger mullet. So if you're working those guts, make sure you work all the edges everywhere around there. Don't just cast 3 times in those guts. You got to work it really hard. Bump along the bottom with a slow retrieve. You feel that little bite, and go ahead and stick them after that. A neat deal that I've been doing for a while, maybe smart people use it, but try about a 1/4 ounce to 3/4 ounce jig head with that gulp or Z-Man, and make a tandem leader off it. Put about 2-foot shock leader with a live bait hook on the back end. Use your mud minnow as a trailer or like a live croaker. So bump that along the bottom, have that as a trailer, and those flounder really like to go ahead and hit that on the way up there. I've got a picture of a flounder there that a guy caught this week on my boat, about 20-inch flounder, which was a good one for the dinner.
Chad, did you miss the redfish photo on redfish?
Yeah, I sure did. I got so excited about the flounder, I forgot the redfish there. So Captain Stevens' clients there had a nice picture of a good redfish he caught this past few days.
All right, man, that looks good. All right, tell me about some offshore fishing there, big man.
Yeah, offshore has been continue to produce. It's been great. Of course, snapper, state, federal water's been awesome. And then look out to like the 100,000 curve for Dorado, Wahoo, billfish. It's really been a great season so far, and I expect it to be even better as we keep on going. Like I said, the red snapper and kingfish are plentiful up and down here. So with the better conditions coming in, and the blue water will start moving in closer to your snapper lines and stuff like that, try a different strategy. Try some chum, and just keep a consistent chum line going out there, and you'll see those snappers coming up to the top. When they do, go ahead and use a free line. By that, just don't use a shock lead or nothing. If you have like 25-pound mono, just tie it direct. The key thing is to let them hit it, let them run, and don't set the hook. You're going to pop off if you do, but it'll keep them from being leader shot, and they'll hit that, take off, and you'll have plenty of 6, 8, 10-pound snaps on light tackle, and be a lot of fun right there. And while you're doing that for the kingfish, while you're snapper fishing, let a ribbon fish float out the back end with a balloon. Keep it away from your line so you can continue fishing. Keep an eye on that balloon, and playing kingfish with that rimfish on the back there. And I've got a picture. We had a nice window for about a day here on a snapper, red snapper there. I took my bay boat offshore. Had a client hammer, a 23-pounder right there.
That is a big fish, man. Congratulations. All right, what about some way offshore? You got something?
Yeah, sure do. Like I said, about the 100-fathom curve, and out deeper is even good, but you don't have to go quite as far. 100-fathom curve, depending where you're at here. You know, out of Mansfield here, it's about a 40-mile run. We're pretty close relative as far as Texas here, so head out there and look for your temperatures, your rips, your current changes. There's been some Dorado showing up now, and of course Wahoo, and then the billfish is still staying pretty solid on that stuff. So if you find a weed line or a rip for the Dorado, try a naked ballyhoo, which means, you know, don't skirt it, don't chin and weight it, don't do anything else like that. Just use it naked and troll that down the weed lines or rip right there, and you'll use some lighter tackle. Try like a 16 wide, maybe a 25, and keep the drag set a little bit looser. That when the fish hits, it's not going to pop you. You can slowly bring it on up and get a heck of a fight, and it'd be really good on that. On your wahoo and stuff, still stick with your divers like Rapala or anything else like that. Purple divers, still my favorite on that. Target on the wahoo. Try to beat that stuff. If you want to add a chin weight to your ballyhoo to get it down a little bit more, that definitely helps also. And got a picture of a good Dorado here, and I got a little story behind that one. So whoever's not entered in the CCA this year for the Star Tournament, enter it before you go fishing.
Wow, you're not kidding. That's a good example of why you need to enter before you go fishing.
You can't enter afterwards, so enter before you go, because that would have done it probably.
All right, Chad, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower coast region. Chad says inshore redfish, trout, and flounder. Plenty of reds in Aransas Bay on shads. Trout fishing is good in Corpus Christi Bay on croakers using shrimp. And then some flounder are showing up and down the lower coast on the drop-offs. And then offshore, snappers, Dorados, wahoos, and billfish. Offshore continues to produce plenty of snappers in state and federal waters. Look to the 100-fathom curve for Dorados, wahoos, and billfish.
All right, coming up, the 43rd Port Mansfield Fishing Tournament is July 27th through July 29th, and our very own Captain Chad Kinney is the offshore director. There will also be 2 bay tournaments and a kids tournament, as well as live music, door prizes, and raffles. Check out the Port Mansfield Fishing Tournament Facebook page for registration, rules, and schedules. So how about that?
That
you go,
looks
Chad.
cool, man. Let's go
like
do
fun.
that.
Let's go do that. You want to enter?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
Drifting right along, we're casting into the upper coast region next, and then seeing what Dave Farrell is rigging over at the CCA workbench. Dave, what is that?
Ooh, we're talking about swordfish. We got blue marlin, white marlin, and swordfish, but we're talking about swordfish.
Nice.
All right.
Can't wait. We'll be right back.
Looks
There
like we
he
got
is.
some new toys to play with, too,
Toys and their
Dave.
toys.
Yeah.
Toys and their toys.
I love this thing.
See?
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The American Fishing Tackle Company. Precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist. Navionics. We start where the road ends. CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation. And Okuma, inspired fishing.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower 4-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable 4-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower 4-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Inside you, there's an outside you. A you that takes the road less traveled than the road less traveled, and finds the comforts of home extremely uncomfortable. This is for that you.
Remember to follow our guides and be up to date on all things fishing in Texas. Make sure to head over to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com. You can also catch all of our shows on our YouTube channel. Remember to like us on Facebook at Texas Insider Fishing Report and follow us on Instagram at TifferTV. Don't forget to send and tag us in your fish-tastic photos and videos. Now it's time for Rigs and Techniques.
The CCA workbench is
Yes,
where a lot of good stuff goes down, whether
Right.
it's rigs and techniques like we're getting ready to do, or new products, which
Right.
we'll have later in the show. This is your job.
Well, we're talking about swordfish, and you know, a swordfish is a billfish, but he's got, instead of just a spear like a marlin or the white marlin or even a sailfish, he's got a sword, and it's flat and sharp on both sides, and he uses it for a weapon. You know, every once in a while, blue marlin might whack something or spear something, but he doesn't do that all the time. Most of the time, he grabs stuff with his mouth. Swordfish uses that bill. It's a weapon. It's the only fish that I've ever had attack the boat. I mean, literally attack the boat. In Venezuela, we had one on, about 200 pounds. We had him up to the surface in 5 minutes, and he came from 50 feet away and came swimming at the boat, whacking the boat as he was going down the side, turned around, went 50 feet out, came back down the side of the boat. I was waiting with a gaff that time, but still, that was the only fish I've ever had turn around and come and attack the boat. So I'll get in the water with a billfish. I won't get in the water with a swordfish because they're mean. They can hurt you. And they get really big. You know, they're worldwide. There's only one species of swordfish, and he lives worldwide. He even goes up into cold water. He lives at 2,000 feet most of the time, you know, in deep, deep water, so he can stay real cold. And because of that, he even has heaters in his brain and his eyeballs. So
heaters?
Yeah, his blood circulates really hard around his eyeballs and his brain, and that allows him to see better in the dark. He's got huge eyeballs as big as a baseball.
Right.
And so he can see in the dark. And that's where he does most of his business, is way down there in the deep dark. So during the daytime, all of them are usually down there on the bottom. They're down there in the daytime. And at night, there's this huge migration called the benthic migration, and it happens every night. All the stuff from below comes rising up, and that's when the swordfish come up at night too. That's when we catch them in the shallow from 100 feet down to 400 feet, is there at nighttime.
Yeah.
In the daytime, we're always down deep on the bottom. And you're gonna be using big gear, you know, but not only because the fish are big and they fight hard, but because you're fishing with a lot of line, especially if you're fishing in the day. You're fishing in the dark. You usually start, in Texas, you're gonna start in 1,500, 1,600 feet of water, and you're gonna have to go 85 miles to get that. Ooh. Yeah, they have a place called the Hilltops, and I talked to a fella named Jeff Wilson, and he was the captain of the Booby Hatch for a long time, with Brett Holden, and they've caught tons of swordfish out there. He caught 171.
No way.
Yeah, in 1 year. Yeah, and caught 21 in one day. And that's really good there because like I said, there's no current. They can get right over the structure, get right over the top of the fish, and there's a ton of them there.
Nice. So how are we going to catch them when we find them, Dave? Or if we get out there?
You're going to use a wind-on leader. They use really long leaders, and that's mainly because that fish will, get tangled up in it a lot. You hear a lot of times that a swordfish has a soft mouth. Their mouth isn't really that soft. They catch them on long lines, for goodness sake, with a big circle hook, so they can come up and they can pull as hard as they want on that thing, and they're not coming off. So Jeff likes to use a lot of drag, 20 pounds of drag when he gets the bite. He's going to use a squid. In Texas, they use a squid because that's what they eat 90%.
This is not a circle hook.
No, that's not. And they use a J hook for the swordfish. Well, they like to, if they swallow it all the way down, they're going to catch that fish. You get it really deep, and they don't want to mess around with catch. I wouldn't mind using a circle hook. What this will be is they'll have an 8-pound. You're fishing in that daytime when you're fishing. You'll have an 8-pound weight, hang a sash weight or a big piece of rebar, a number 11 rebar that weighs about 8, or 6 to 8 pounds, and they'll have that hanging on the hook. You'll have a squid, the whole squid, and then the hook will be just sticking out of the skirt of the squid, and you'll have that big rebar hanging right there, and it's on a little hook, so that when you get all the way to the bottom, you give it a jerk, and that weight will fall off. But way up here, by your wind-on, about 50 feet or 60 feet away, you'll have, right after your wind-on goes to your braid, you'll put on a 3-pound, he puts on a 3-pound controlling weight. And what the controlling weight does is, once you get it all the way down there and you knock off that big weight, this thing, when that fish eats, this weight will pull down. And when he's feeling that thing pulling down, he's gonna wanna go up. So that's why they put that weight up in the front. Because
tricky business.
It's right, we want him to feel that pull from the bottom, and he's gonna resist and go up. And we want him, that's right, and then we can crank all that line, 1,600 feet of line, maybe even more, up to 2,000 feet of line. You're gonna be cranking, trying to get all that line. Hopefully he's gonna come rocketing to the surface like that one in Venezuela did. We're using a big octopus and a plastic bag full of rocks as our weight hanging on the hook. In 1,600 feet of water, we got the bite in 30 seconds. And but soak it for an hour, go to the hilltops and go do that one day. Anybody can catch one of these great big swordfish, and they're really good to eat. Really good to eat. Just be careful with them when you get them to the boat.
Good info, Dave. Thank you so much. All right, Bree.
Yes, Rick.
Just go ahead.
Just go ahead.
Just go ahead.
That was some good stuff, Dave. Thanks for all that. Good news, inshore and offshore is swimming somewhere in the upper coast region, and Captain Caleb Harp is going to let you in on the whereabouts. Hey, Caleb.
Hey, Bree. How are you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Well, hey, guys, I'm going to kick it off and start talking about these redfish. There's several different open water schools of redfish in the middle of Sabine Lake right now. And, these open water schools, they're really big and they're moving really fast. Most of the time, they're going to be in the same couple areas, but they do move around too, so you're going to have to spend a little time looking for them. When they're on top busting bait out of the water, it's easiest to find them, obviously, but you still got to take it easy and sneak up on them with your trolling motor. If you get too close or you're too loud, they're going to spook and go down. And if they're also on top, you can generally find them slicking too. Just trap the slicks, and they're going to lead you to the school of fish. Big oversized baits are going to be the best for open water schools of redfish, since they're going to allow you to cast further and cover more water. The longer casts are going to help you whenever those fish are on the move and you really need to catch up to them. And heavy jig head really allows you to be able to push through the school. The bulls are going to be up on top, and those slots are going to be on the bottom. So if you can bust through those bulls on top, you can get down to the slots that you can keep or win a tournament out of. Heavy braided line and a heavy action rod are also going to be really, good for helping you out winching these big giant fish in. And then moving over to trout. Our trout really, West Bay has been producing pretty good numbers consistently lately. Drift and Karankawa Reef and other mid-bay reefs have been really the ticket. Most everybody over there is throwing croaker right now, but you can still get them on artificial lures. Contrary to popular belief, you don't have to soak croaker in the summer months to catch fish. They will eat lures still, but there have been some decent catches along the South Shoreline coast too, just depending on the time, and around the geotubes as well. Soft plastics have been working the best. Find the schools and stay on them. Bear lure provokers and marsh minnows, anything purple or chartreuse are good, lure choices. And the top water's been good right at sunrise as well, just depending on whether or not the bait's on top. But this pattern will stay good for most of the summer. It's really just now kicking off. It's kind of late, but it'll stay good, generally until about October. When those fish are there, they're going to stay there. And then going to go offshore now. The cobia, we're still good. I know I sound like a broken record only talking about them, but with this weather we've been having, it's just too rough to really go do anything else. And they're going to be on anything standing above water and nearshore structures on the Sabine, Galveston, and Freeport beachfront. The navigation and fairway buoys, standpipes, rigs, and anything else standing above the water is going to have cobia on it right now. Curly-tail jigs and big swim baits are good lure choices, and they're going to be up to about 6 to 5 pounds. And as well as the cobia, the kingfish, they're been pretty good. You got to go a little further out. They're still going to do, they're still pretty good out there. And they're plentiful on the gas and oil rigs, 10 to 15 miles out, and rock piles, 20 to 40 miles out. With trolling dead sardines with double J hooks on a wire leader is the best to catch these kingfish. And no real monsters right now, just good, 15, 20 pounders right now.
All right, thank you so much, Caleb. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the CCA Upper Coast hotspots from your region inshore. Redfish in the open water schools are in the middle of Sabine Lake, and they're crushing topwater baits or slicking. Big spoons and big swim baits are the best to be able to cast far enough to get in front of those schools. Now, lots of oversized fish, but there's a good amount of slot fish, and they're legal too. And then offshore, cobias. On the nearshore structures, on the Sabine, Galveston, and Freeport beachfront, anything standing above the water, including buoys, sandpipes, or standpipes, rigs, have cobia on big swim baits, and curly-tailed jigs are gonna work for those guys.
All right, well, it's hot outside, but the tagged redfish fishing in the CCA Texas Star Tournament is even hotter, with 8 already caught and 5 top prizes claimed.
Nice.
What? That's crazy. Congrats, guys. There are still 5 more Haney boat packages up for grabs, and don't forget about the sheep's head, flounder, and gaff top divisions, where you can win a new 19 shoalwater cat, or the youth can win a $50,000 or $25,000 scholarship. Whoa. Get registered online or at Academy and get out until September 4th. CCA, the leader in marine conservation and habitat restoration. What do you think about that?
Man,
they're always doing such cool things.
They are.
I love CCA.
You know, it's so great to see those winners up close and personal.
Yes,
it's really
it is.
cool. Congratulations,
They're real people.
guys.
It really happens. Okay, the lower, fresh, and middle coast regions are patiently waiting to give you your weekend bite report, so sit tight, and we'll be right back here on the Texas Insider
Fishing Report.
Yeah.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, performance through innovation. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. And King Sailfish Mounts. www.kingsailfish.com.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
Hey, how do you like your Contender? How do I like my Contender? What's not to like? Dude, I just saw a Contender, and man, I gotta get me one.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left, there's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
So hey guys, we want to talk a little bit about the 4.2 liters from Yamaha. Now starting off with the 300, this is a great motor for your bay boat application or a center console like a 32 Contender or a 35 or even triples on your 39. Now the reason why I love these motors so much is it's really the perfect motor for inshore or offshore. 4.2 liter block gives us a tremendous amount of displacement, but guess what? We're 73 pounds lighter than the competition. But make no mistake about it, we have a great hole shot and beat everybody out of the hole as well. Now, these motors also come in a 25-inch shaft or a 30-inch shaft. And in the 250s as well as the 225s, you also have the ability to buy it in electronic shift or mechanical. So the next time you're thinking about potentially repowering, you need to go down to your Yamaha dealer and tell them that I sent you to look at the new 4.2 liters. You know, Bree, whether it's a Yamaha that you're interested or a new Pathfinder, go onto our website and find out where all those dealers are. We've got dealers throughout the state of Texas ready to answer any questions that you have about bay boats, contenders, or, you know, your Yamahas.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
check it out, guys.
Check it out. The YETI Lower Fresh region has a few lakes that are hot and ready for the pickings. So Matt Reed, if you would so kindly give us the lowdown for this weekend, that'd be great.
You think I might know a little bit about it?
A little bit, just a little bit.
Just maybe.
A little baby bit.
Warm.
All right, tell us what you got.
Tell us what we got. I'm going to start out with a largemouth bass from the South Texas region. I'm going to go to Fayette County Lake and to start with. Fishing's still really good there right now. You can catch them early around the scattered hydrilla on top waters and spinner baits and that kind of stuff up in the shallow water around that hydrilla. As it gets a little later in the day, they're going to move out on the main lake points and ledges out there in 12 to 18 foot of water, and you're catching them on football jigs and Carolina rigs really well. We're going to shift lakes from there to go to a lake that's really on fire. Nobody talks about it much, Lake Somerville. The bass fishing there is just really great right now. Tournament results, it's taking 30 pounds on 5 to win nearly every time. They're catching them early in the morning on top waters, and then as it warms up, moving out in that 15 to 20 foot range with a big Z-Boss 20 crankbait or a Carolina rig or a football jig, and just covering those deep breaks. And there's a lot of big fish showing up there right now. So Somerville's kind of been a sleeper, but it's not sleeping anymore. Going to move on down south of San Antonio to Canyon Lake. Lake that historically has not been all that good for bass, but it's on fire right now. I've got a buddy, Mike Bates, there that fishes the night tournaments on Thursday nights, I believe they are, and there's two patterns going on. The bushes in 5 foot of water, the shallow pattern, they're catching them really well there early in the morning and late in the afternoon on soft plastics. Best colors are watermelon red, watermelon candy, and the green pumpkin shades. Again, that shallow pattern is best early in the day and late in the afternoon. After that, those fish are moving out into deeper water in 15 to 30 foot on the main lake ledges, catching them on Texas rigs and drop shots. Same colors are working out deep that are shallow because of that clear water, the watermelon reds and watermelon candies. Give that lake a chance. It's giving up a lot of 20-pound stringers now, which is highly unusual for Canyon Lake's history, but it's turning them out right now. We're going to move on to Lake Travis in the Austin area. Bass fishing's been pretty good there for numbers, catching them early in the morning on pop-Rs and wake baits. And, you know, the shaky head trick worms are also working well on some of the bigger ones a little later in the day. Brian Cotter gives me that report from there every week. He fishes a lot of those lakes around there. So give Travis a chance if you're in that area. The night fishing there is really good right now. You can avoid some of this South Texas heat and, you know, catch you a lot of big ones while you're at it.
Tell me about the photo there, Matt.
Oh, that photo there was a customer of mine last week with actually a Lake Falcon bass. That's actually the first bass she ever caught. Taught her how to throw a spinning rod, and that was her first bite. Made her husband a little jealous.
Well, I don't blame him for being jealous. She needs to quit fishing because that's a great fish. Good job. All right, before we go into your striper fishing, I want to take a little bit of time, and I want to show you guys some cool things about the Navionics. Now, guys, I'm just going to grab a place down off of the lower coast, and the thing that we're trying to do is teach you guys how easy it is with the Navionics app to be able to navigate. Now, the cool part is, as you can tell, there's lots of little wrecks here on the maps. The great part about it, if I want to know exactly what that wreck is, I can simply just put a cursor on top of it. And in so doing that, What it does is it gives me all the GPS numbers, and then all I have to simply do is push boat 2, and depending on where I am, it'll tell me exactly where to go. If I want to know more information about the wreck, I just simply click on that and it'll tell me it's a dangerous wreck, always under the water, submerged, and in some cases it'll tell you what kind of fish are on it. So keep that in mind. Throughout all the regions, there's lots of different information that you can get. You just simply put the cursor on it and it'll tell you exactly what it is. All right, that's what we got for Navionics. Okay, Matt, tell me about the striper fishing.
Lake Somerville right now, the hybrid stripers are biting really well, up and down the dam in about 10 foot of water on a crankbait. Those fish are active early in the morning best. Later in the day, they may back off a little deeper and relate to those schools of shad you can find suspended out there on your low-range electronic. But that's a lot of fun to catch.
All right, well, we appreciate you. Great report this week. I appreciate everything you do each and every week. We're halfway through the season. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower fresh hotspots. Our guide Matt says Fayette County Lake is really good on the main lake points for bass in 15 to 20 feet of water on football jigs and then shallow around the scattered grass. And then also Lake Somerville, hybrid stripers are active in 10 feet of water on crankbaits along the dam. Bree.
Well, Captain Bink Grimes is always bringing the positivity, and this week in the Middle Coast region is no exception. So let's hear it, Bink.
I've got good news again. Texas Parks and Wildlife spring gillnet surveys are saying what we already know. Our bays are in great shape and full of speckled trout. It's been a great 2017 in our wet winters and springs. We've enjoyed over the past 3 years and fertilized our bays, and their spring gillnet surveys say, just are off the chart. So that's good news. West Matagorda Bay continues to impress with larger than normal trout. Once known for mostly school trout, West Bay's coughed up consistent fish over 20 inches all year. Shoalgrass shorelines providing great topwater action on the incoming tide. We're throwing super spooks, skitter walk, sheep pups, and those trout are just gobbling them up at sunrise. And those guys tossing live croakers while waiting are getting theirs quick limits early on live bait. Around Palacios, boaters anchoring on the barge and the sunken shrimp boat have scored easy limits on live shrimp rigs about 4 feet under a mid-coast cork. And those reefs off Palacios Point and Hotel Point are holding good trout as well. East Matagorda Bay's been kind of so-so while drifting. It's been a much tougher bite with soft plastics, but live shrimp has been a whole lot better. Waders have worked on the mud flats on the east end and found fish on super spooks and she dogs, and those reefs in the middle of the bay like Long Reef, Three Beacon, Half Moon, and Barefoot have produced on live shrimp, bass assassins, down south lures, and Norton bull minnows. There around Freeport, those reefs around the intercoastal waterways held trout on live shrimp while anchored, and those walking the nearby rocks and tossing the topwater early and late in the day have caught fish tight to the granite, just tossing that topwater right along, walking the dog back and forth from the rocks. And man, those fish have been blowing up on it. And then in Port O'Connor, guy Lynn Smith said most of the fish had been in the back of the back lakes on topwaters and soft plastics. But this week, as July always does to us, our tides start dropping with a southwest wind. So he's been kind of positioning himself right there at the mouth of those bios and those back lakes and kind of intercept them as they're coming out. And what it's done is pull a lot of those fish on those deep reefs in about 5 to 6 foot of water. They're anchoring out there with live shrimp, croakers, and throwing soft plastics. Also, man, the Super Spook Juniors have really been working on those flats. We're waiting around Pascavallo. It's been really good. Got a photo there of a 28.5-inch East Matagorda Bay trout. We call it tossing a Rapala pink skitter walk. So they like those pink skitter walks around Matagorda. It's kind of one of the go-to baits for us. We'll talk a little bit about redfish. Guide Albert Garrison. When we had those influx of tides last week, it really helped our redfish catches. But since then, man, our tides have dropped another foot and a half. And so we're using those dropping tides and kind of anchoring around on the edge of the intercoastal around Oyster Lake. And those points of bows jumping around Crab Lake and Mad Island Reef have been good too. Boggy Lake just off the intercoastal near East Matagorda Bay has been good. Like I said, that tide's dropping, so you kind of need to stay right there around the mouth of it. and nearby Lake Austin and the muddy shorelines of Brown Cedar Flats have been good. Those reefs in Bass Drop Bayou and Chocolate Bayou are good for reds on live shrimp and finger mullet. San Luis Pass is still holding good bull reds on crabs and croakers, and the Freeport and Surfside jetties are holding reds on pogies and table shrimp. And then the best action there in Port O'Connor for reds has been, like I said, right there in the back lakes, right there at the mouth of it. Tides are dropping. You know, watch what you're doing when you're in your boat, because a lot of exposed reefs I'll be poking out right now because of the low tides, but it's a good time to mark those reefs, because when those reefs have water covering over the top of them, they're going to have fish all over them. We'll go offshore kingfish. Man, Matagorda guy Michael Quebec said kingfish are everywhere around structure and when you're trolling. Our Gulf shrimp season opens July 15th, and many of those kings will be following the shrimp boats while they're culling. When they pull up the nets, they start culling, and man, all the kingfish get behind them. You kind of get behind those boats and you can intercept them. Our red snapper, they're still everywhere from Freeport to Port O'Connor. They're dropping a squid down about 40 foot of water or more, and man, you're going to get bit. Cobia have been kind of scattered lately. Best bites have come around wrecks and weed lines, and there's still lots of Dorado and chicken dolphin on those weed lines. Marlin showed up this week on the deeper rips while trolling islanders, ballyhoo, and black marks, as well as yellowfin tuna. They're starting to show up around those floater rigs while drifting and casting tuna poppers. And there's a photo right there of Captain Quebec with a Matagorda kingfish. You'll notice he's about 15 miles offshore, and he's in a Transcat Bay boat. So it was one day it actually got kind of calm out there. So we're kind of hoping for that this week. We got good forecast, 5 to 10 knot winds. So we're hoping to get on the big pond and get in the surf this week.
All right, great report, Bink. Very, very informative. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Middle Coast hotspots. Inshore trout in Palacio Reef along the east shoreline around Palacio Point and Hotel Point are holding good trout on live shrimp. And then offshore, kingfish, snapper, dorados, and yellowfin tunas. The kingfish and snapper are everywhere over the rocks and wrecks, about 9 to 12 miles out. Dorado are thick along the weed lines, and the yellowfin tuna are showing up on the floating rings. Did I get that?
Palacios, proud of you.
Palacio, I got it.
Good
You're
job.
so good at
Boy,
coaching me during the commercial.
I'm a coacher. We only have one more region to complete, and that is the Middle Fresh region. But wait, we still have to check in with Dave for some new product action. Dave?
Yep, we got a whole bunch of cool stuff. We got some night vision, then the freak.
The freak.
The freak. I gotta throw that thing.
That's pretty freaky.
That's gonna
All right.
big old bass can eat that.
Looks good to me. We'll be right back.
It's freaky.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder. Rapala. Catch the latest at rapala.com. YETI, built for the wild. Building Conservation Trust, CCA's National Habitat Program. StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
The ultimate predator has evolved again. Now, Yamaha VMAX SHO Performance is prowling the waters in 4 hungry, exciting new models. With their 4 valves per cylinder and double overhead cam fuel-injected design, these advanced 4-stroke predators are taking performance to a whole new level. Vicious, lean, efficient. VMAX SHO. The pack is growing.
Thanks for tuning in to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes as well as special segments right on our homepage. Just head to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week is about Captain Rick. I often get asked this question, what are these things on the side of the tower? Well, they're a Power Pole shallow water anchoring system. Now, it's a hydraulic system that allows us to have more control over our boat. We can quietly secure our boat in the current and the wind, and what makes it great is it allows us to position our boat exactly where we want it. Now, Power Pole makes a variety of different shapes and sizes. They make the Blade, the Pro, the Sportsman's, and the Micro. Now, all of these systems are being used on a variety of different boats. We have bass boats using them, pontoon boats, bay boats, flats boats, john boats, including kayaks. So keep this in mind if you're thinking about buying a shallow water anchoring system. The Power Pole brand is certainly the one that you should consider. The other thing that comes to mind is most boats have one, but this dual is something that we want to talk to you about in next week's Power Pole Tip of the Week. The CCA Workbench, Dave.
Yes,
New
sir.
products every single week. And tonight, we got products built for nighttime love.
Yeah, those things are cool. This is the Night Track night vision system, and it's got several great things about it. You know, a lot of people don't go for the night vision because of the expense, and these are like half as much as some of the other units out there, and it still provides 4 times resolution of the other units. I mean, this was technology that was built for satellites so that they could pick up tiny little, you know, space telescopes, so they could pick up tiny little bits of light. So this thing will work in pitch black dark when you use the illuminator. It comes with an infrared illuminator. If you're in pitch black dark, it'll still work.
Speaking of that, I got to use this about a month ago. Let's
Correct.
take a look at the video.
Yeah, a good
So on
estimation
this
of what this
video,
can
Dave,
do.
this was at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was pitch black. This is idling out the channel.
You're giving it away.
And this is pitch black. Now watch what happens here.
It looks like
I'm just showing the monitor just like we have here, which comes as part of the package.
Correct.
When you buy. Now I scan on my phone just to the left to show you literally how
It's
dark it is.
It's Africa dark.
And then back down to the screen.
Yep, that looks like it's like 6 o'clock and it's 30 in the morning or something.
Yeah, and I ran for 20 miles in the dark.
And I hate running in the dark, you know, and I got a
But
lot of friends who love to run in the dark, and I would love for them to have one of these.
And the great part is the cost.
Well, the cost and the portability. This is one that, you know, you don't, the Pro Pack, the Pro Bag, you don't even have to mount it. And it comes with
suction
little
cups.
suction cups and the rail mounts and a battery pack. You can take it from your flats boat to your airboat to your car, and it records.
Your buggy.
It records.
Yeah.
And so
four-wheeler.
Yeah, anything. And that's another thing.
You can even put it in the stand with you.
Correct. And
now, no, guys, no shooting. I know you guys in Texas, no shooting in the dark.
Not in the dark. And $3,400, you know, $3,500, $3,499.
But at least you'll see bullwinkle strutting around.
Yeah, you can't beat it. And it all comes in a nice big bag, you know, when you get that Pro Bag.
That's right.
The Night Track. And you got to go to gonighttrack.com to check them out.
All right. Now where are we going?
We got razor baits. And I think we had some of this guy's spinner baits on a long time ago. He makes a lot of bass lures and stuff. But this is a assortment of his soft baits. He makes 16 different styles of soft baits, from sluggos to that freak right there to
this
frogs.
Is called the freak?
Yeah, that's the freak. You know, from all the creature baits and regular worms, and you know, he's got 17 colors and 5 special frog colors. He's got actually 21 colors of the frogs, and I love frogs.
What?
Yeah, and look, just really finely finished, high quality stuff from razorbaits.com. You know, they got the dipstick, you know, like the sluggo baits and the creatures and the crawl baits. You know, I love throwing all these things. The bigger the better too, because like that little boy threw that big old creature bait and caught that giant bass we just saw.
I mean, look at that. I have to put
that's
it
the crawl
against my hand so you can see it.
Yeah, really cool.
Oh my gosh.
Razor baits, really good
creature
stuff.
Baits.
Yeah,
I love
razorbaits.com. That's
right.
that's a crawdad.
Crawdaddy.
All right, we got some Halco tackles. This is the Max 30 and the Max 180. Now these are lipless trolling plugs. I like to use them a lot for wahoos and kingfish, any kind of toothy thing. is going to want to eat these things. They vibrate like crazy. You can oh, don't hook me.
Watch
you can
it.
see it. You can see I've got wire on it because I'm catching toothy things with it. Extremely versatile. You can jig that thing, you can cast it, and it'll troll at 12 knots.
What?
Yeah, it'll
Come
go.
on.
You know, it still stays 6 feet under the water. It's kind of heavy, and it's made for trolling for bait out in Australia, which everything there has teeth. So that's what they use.
Dave, you're starting to get into my arena here.
Oh, this is the new concept lures. These is the spinning spoon, and this is a gold spoon with a weedless on it, and it's got a little spinner at the back. And this is from New Concept Lures. A guy up in Jacksonville area, Rob Coxey. He makes all kinds of really cool stuff, and he likes to put spinners and rattles on everything. We had a couple
Look
of
at
his
the weed guard.
very good weed guards on both of these, and the hammered finish on those things. You can see these are 360 degrees. You know, a wobble spoon only wobbles back and forth. That little spinner back there, everything can see it from ever.
Great work tonight.
No worries, man.
Man.
New Concept Lures.
Anything else? We'll get to it next week. All right, Bree, we're seeing you over here in the dark.
I see you. If you're in the Middle Fresh region and plan on fishing Lake Sam Rayburn, Athens, or Belton this weekend, then listen up. Stephen Johnston has just the bite info you'll need. Hey, Stephen.
How y'all doing today?
Super good.
All right, well, here we are. We're going to talk about Sam Rayburn. Bassmaster just named Sam Rayburn this past week, #2 in the country. Over at Toledo Bend the last couple of years, it was #1. So right here next door to me, not far away, Sam Rayburn is #2 in the country. So with that being said, you know, the fishing's still good there. The water's full pool, and with that being said, it's got a lot of the flooded bushes, the hay grass, and a lot of hydrilla kind of scattered out all over the lake. You know, doing real good. The best baits are frog, swim jig, swim baits. And when you get by one of them flooded bushes or willow trees, you pick up a jig or pick up a beaver style bait with some braided line and flip around there. And then a lot of times you'll see those big clumps of hay grass that's kind of folded over or something. And a lot of times those fish are hard to get out. But it's just kind of like fishing down there at Okeechobee. It's a pretty neat deal. Get that braided line and flip that bait up in that hay grass, and it's fun. There's also a few fish finally starting to show up in that 8 to 12 foot range offshore. There's not a lot of grass deep in there, about 9 foot. A lot of these fish are starting to roam. The water's finally up in the mid 80s now, and we're catching these on Texas rigworms, 7 and 10 inch, in a medium diving crankbait. A couple weeks ago, I talked about the Texas shootout. A team tournament, the one-day deal of Sam Rayburn, and it took 33 pounds to win that derby, and second place was 30 pounds. So, you know, there's a lot of good fish being caught. Not a lot of giants, but just a lot of, 6 to 9 pound fish being caught. Like to jump over to Lake Athens. Had a report come in from Lake Athens this week. The lake level there is full. The bass fishing is good on frogs and any kind of popping bait. And what these guys are doing, they're throwing these baits around the docks, on the sides of the docks in the shade, and also any kind of flooded grass or water willow that you can find. Take that frog and that popping bait and throw it up in or right on the edge of it. The report also said that throwing a Texas rig crawworm out in front of the docks from like 8 to 12 feet, Texas rigging it with a 3/16 or quarter ounce weight, had the boat put back away from the dock, some nice fish up to 5 pounds being caught.
All right, what else you got for us, Stephen?
We're going to jump over to Lake Belton. Another report. Got a couple guys there sending some good stuff in every week. We're going to talk about some hybrids. The hybrids are real good on live shad. The fish are not schooling, but they are schooled up under the water. They won't come up and bust the surface. Most of the fish are running from 12 to 25 feet. And what the guys are saying is drive around and find the big balls of bait on your electronics. And the fish are either under the shad or on the sides of the shad. And just make sure that bait stays up. Make sure your bait does not get below the fish, because if it gets below, boy, it's you're not going to get a bite. The south end they're saying is doing the best. You can catch a few up the river, but out the south end is really doing the best. And once you get those fish schooled and you get 2 or 3 on at a time, get them fired up, you can take a hammered, half ounce or 3/4 ounce spoon and drop it right back down there and get them going. So, those guys are talking about trying to get that depth of that line. If you're using a 7-foot stick, hold your stick up and have that bait at the end of the handle and just make 2 swaps with that rod. And that'll put it down about 14 feet. So if you're not getting a bite or you got your kids with you and they're not getting a bite, just make sure that bait's not down there too deep. Make sure that bait's up in the strike zone and have a good time.
Stephen, I got a question for you. You know, a lot of times jigging for groupers, we use metered line, which is colored every 25 feet. Do you guys use that for this deep water bass fishing at all?
We don't use it a whole lot because a lot of our lakes are clear. Some of the lakes, like at Belton, those lakes are real clear. Now, once you get those fish fired up and get them schooling, I think you can drop braid or anything down there. But it's a total fluorocarbon deal. We like staying away from that color line.
All right, thank you so much for clearing that up for me. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Fresh region. He said bass in Lake Sam Rayburn, number 2. You can catch good bass on any type of topwaters, frogs, prop baits, and popping baits. These fish can also be found all day long in 1 to 5 feet of water and then move deeper to 8 to 12 feet. Use a Texas Carolina rig with a 10-inch worm. That would be Texas or Carolina.
Sam Rayburn's number 2 in the country. Hot
Number
dang.
2.
Number
And
2.
right down the street's number 1,
Number
Toledo
1.
Bend.
It's a good place to be.
I think we need to go.
I think we
the
do
3
too.
of us.
Go bass fishing this week.
There's
What
an
do you say,
official
fellas?
invitation to you right there.
I'm in.
All right.
Good show,
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week right here on Texas Insider Fishing Report. Bye. Disco.